Spotty gotta do? What?
It's your boy, Japanese Tutor, back at it again with another Stonewall Dutch video. We're going to learn how to win with the Stonewall Dutch. Let's do this. We're going to go right into it. Actually, now we're in different lines where we have delayed bishop f4 lines, okay? So we're going to read right from the text. Long-range planning works best in the short term. In this lesson, we shall consider lines with a delayed bishop f4. What primarily interests us, or the authors, is the typical pawn structure resulting from black capturing the bishop and white recapturing with his g-pawn. The kind of positions that we have already explored in the previous lessons. Consequently, we shall not consider other lines which don't lead to the typical pawn structure. Okay. So we're going to go right into game 25. So they have different thematic ideas, so you need to look out for them. So d4, f5. Then we have g3, exclamation point, and knight f6, bishop g2, e6, knight f3, d5, c4, c6. Castles, bishop d6, knight c3, castles, and then bishop f4. Okay, so bishop captures g4. I think we already know how to cover this. It makes some sense to put the queen's knight on c3 in combination with bishop f4 systems, as white will have more than sufficient control over e5 anyways. So just like in the queen c2 lines where they castle on bishop f4, this position can, in theory, arise from the same move order. Is there any reason, this is a question in the text, is there any reason why white usually prefers the knight c3 move order? What white usually achieves with the assertion of knight c3 and castles, it actually seems kind of favorable for black, as castling is a more universally desirable move in the Stonewall than knight c3. It seems there could be two explanations. So let's see. One, white may be hoping that black responds to knight c3 with something else and weaker than castles. Castles is your best bet when they play knight c3, so make sure that you play knight c3 when you castle. Well, when they play knight c3, you castle. All right, and this is weaker than castles. This happens in roughly 10% of the games and was considered in lesson 4. We already did that already. And 2, white waits for castles because he worries about lines where black goes directly for the attack with rook g8 and g5. This occurs even more rarely, so it doesn't even make sense. Bishop d7 is actually an inaccuracy. It exposes this. Similarly, you want to play knight b d7 or queen e7, which is probably a little bit better. Okay, so queen e7 is probably a better alternative. Because after that, then you can play bishop d7. If they play queen b3, then you play bishop here, and now the queen guards, and I'll show you that. They have to make another move. Let's say they play here, and on queen b3, then we play bishop e8. And now we're starting our attack like normal. Anyways, they didn't do that. Bishop d7. So on bishop d7, queen b3, queen b6, e3. They said that the knight a4 is actually a little bit better. And it's a little bit more critical. It looks like white's a little bit better here, actually. So instead they played e3, bishop e8, queen a3, controlling the dark squares, knight b d7, b4, that's always their plan, knight to e4, rook a to b1, and bishop h5. In before he realized he's not recording. I am recording. This is all recording. King of Man, what's up? Will Wolf, JJ, what is up? What is up? How's everything happening with you? So we're doing a lesson right now. So black is making progress on the king side by means of small tactical threats. So let's say queen c1. Let's say you did, I don't know, c5. I don't know. Let's say queen b2. Then maybe queen d8, and we have some normal stuff. We also have bishop captures f3 happening in some lines. Maybe even rook f6 and trying to come in, right? So what he played was after queen c1. He played queen c1. He said there was a fork on d2 after an exchange on f3. So let's say if after bishop h5. After bishop h5, if they don't really do anything, then we have this plus this. A little combo. Whoa, what's just happened? Thank you for the follow. Pow, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate that. Okay. And queen here, defending it. Queen d8, saying, hey, my job is done over there. Let's come over here now. Knight to d2, trying to trade off these knights. g5. We've seen this so many times. F captures g5, queen captures g5. f4. Queen h6. b5. King h8. Now we know we've seen this a few times. King h8 followed by the rook g8. So king h8, b captures c6, b captures c6. Knight to f3. Interesting. Bishop captures f3. Rook captures f3. Rook g8. Queen e1. And then after knight d to f6. Knight captures e4, and then knight captures e4. C captures d5, c captures d5. King h1. This is actually, I think it's almost lost at this point. So after king h1, rook a to b8. Rook captures, rook captures. And it says black's knight is great on e4, but it could easily be exchanged if white is allowed to reorganize his forces. So queen c1. Queen c1, queen h4, threatening some stuff over here, some nice attacking chances over here. Queen c1, queen h4, king g1, rook g8, saying, hey, this is a better line for me. h3, h6, king h2, king h7. White is completely tied up, and black can just take his time. In positions like this, it is just as important to allow your opponent to break down as it is. You have to find a way to. Okay, so it's. I'm gonna just read what it says. It's kind of complicated, but in positions like this, it is just as important to allow your opponent to break down as it is to find a way to make progress yourself. So basically, what he's saying is, you don't really have any progress, but they even have less progress. So just let your opponent mess himself up. That's basically what he's saying. Kind of profound, actually, but it's kind of difficult as well. What's up, Potato Enthusiast? Or Fate, sorry, what's up, Fate? I haven't seen you in a while. All right, and then king g1, rook g7, king h2, a5, right, king h2, A3, A4, Queen D1, Rook G8, Queen C1, Rook G6, Queen D1. Trying to make a draw, I guess. Black may not be making any obvious progress, but he can combine play against two weaknesses and should win in the long run. Weakness here, weakness here. And also this is really, really strong. Okay, so bishop f1, queen b7, bishop d3. Trying to trade off maybe and just easier defense as well. Rook c7 attacking the queen. Queen a1 protecting the pawn as well. Queen b3. Finally, white is allowed to exchange his bishop for black's superior knight, but it is a hollow victory since white's remaining pieces may equal black's pieces in number, but there are no match when it comes to activity. So bishop captures e4, f captures e4, rook g3, rook c2 check, king h1, rook b2, ouch, queen g1, I don't know, queen g1, this looks kind of bad, but there, maybe it's going for a draw, maybe here, queen b7. Optically, white's play on the g-file may seem promising, but a minimum of calculation makes it clear that black only needs to show a little care in order to win. Queen b7, rook g8, rook b1, rook g7 check, captures, queen g3, f1, queen captures e3, f5, and captures, and done. Oh, sorry, no, not captures. Queen d3, and then it's done. So that's a really nice game. So basically, what this game kind of shows us is that we should, when they delay bishop f4 and then play bishop f4 after they castle and after knight c3, we should go for a kingside attack immediately after the moves queen e7. So castles, queen e7, and then move your bishop away. Then bring the knight out. The knight on the b file. So knight b to d7 only happens after the queen and the bishop have both moved. So that's what I've learned from this one. All right, let's go into the next game. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. Would really appreciate it if you do. Guys, you got to watch the stream upside down. It's so much fun. What? You took a bit of break? Man, it's tough. Life is tough. Life is tough. But I'm glad you're here. All right, and we're going to go into the second game. So game 26. So it's c4, e6, knight f3, d5, d4, c6, queen c2. It can be argued that it is the insertion of this move eventually that eventually delays bishop f4. Even though it is not our primary focus in this chapter, we might as well take the opportunity to mention a few move order issues that apply to the possible transposition from the Queen's Gambit to the Stonewall Dutch. f5. A safer path to the Stonewall is bishop d6. and they say that when G3 and F5 lead to fairly standard lines, while Knight C3, F5, Bishop G5, Knight F6, and E3 is probably the critical test. White has scored heavily, but for some reason the black players have been heavily outrated too. So yeah, the players that have been playing this for the black side have just been lower rated players, and that's why White has been doing well, because they're just better players. G3, Knight B to D7. Oh, sorry, Knight F6. Bishop here. Bishop D6. Bishop F4. Takes G6. Castles, castles. Interesting. Knight B to D7. Okay. So when the queen's here, instead of playing Queen E7, maybe playing Knight B D7. Okay. Got it. Got it, coach. E3. They also said that if C captures here, that you're going to capture with the E pawn, right? And then queen captures F5, and we've seen this before. Knight E4, Queen E6 check, King H8, and it's kind of risky. You're going to lose your F4 pawn at least. If you try to run away, you know, my knight can capture. Let's say you try to run away this way. We can play knight E5, Queen H5, Knight G6, and we're at least winning this pawn. Knight G5. Yeah. And this is a lot. This is a lot of compensation here. Queen 8. Yeah. I don't know. You can't even stay on this side. This is tough stuff right here. And then you play Knight H5. Where's everything going? I mean, maybe here. Maybe just take here. Maybe take here first, and then take here, and then take here. Oh, this is some rough stuff. Knight captures F. I think this might be mate. Knight D3 mate. Where do you go? Oh, queen captures here. Okay. Right, and that's mate. Yeah. All right, so that was a little sideline, but kind of cute as well. If they do decide to capture, you know how to. Okay, so Knight BD7. So Knight BD7, E3, Knight E4, Knight C3, Knight D to F6. They said that this may be imprecise. The knights will now need some extra moves to exchange itself for a white knight on E5. Queen E7 would reach the position that may arise from various move orders. Could Queen E8, H5 be a better plan now that the F4 isn't available for a knight? Queen E8 is an interesting option, but quite committal, as it cannot easily be combined with Bishop D7, Bishop E8, and H5. And they're saying you can play here, but it's kind of committal. How long are these lessons? These lessons are very long. They're about 5 hours long. How about Queen A5? Queen A5 is not a line. It is not a line destroyer. All right, and yeah, just give me a second, guys. I'm gonna just close my window. All right. Okay, so let's go back. Sorry about that, guys. So knight F6 is not good. So knight captures on E4. Knight captures on e4, knight e5, and knight d6. This looks a little peculiar, but black admits that his knight on e4 is considerably less effective than white's on at e5, so he would offer an exchange of knights from f7. So kind of cute. f3, bishop d7, rook f2, knight f7, knight captures, rook captures. Black's position is extremely solid, but his bishop is hampered by his own pawns. Bishop f1, king h8, rook g2, the point, queen f6, bishop d3, rook to g8, the other rook. After rook g8, king h1, g5. Okay, so there is nothing more black can do to prepare this confrontation. The result will be mass exchanges on the open G file, leading to a typical endgame. And that's kind of where I want to see what happens. What is a typical endgame? F captures, rook captures, queen captures, rook G1, bishop, queen F6, queen G2. Rook g7, queen captures, rook captures, king captures. This position is of some theoretical importance. The pawn formation is largely symmetrical, but black is left with an imprisoned bishop while white's bishop is unhindered, at least by his own pawns. Does white better bishop provide him with a realistic winning prospects? King g2, king f6. Black's somewhat more centralized king forces white to take various lines, e5, possibly preceded by d captures c4 into account. f4. This stops e5 and f4, but it gives up white's own e4 break. In a sense, the position is now becoming even more typically Stonewall. Bishop e8, bishop e2, bishop f7, king g3, king g6, c5. We cannot find much to criticize in white's play, but it would still have been interesting to see how a top player would have handled the position. King h6, king h4, not allowing this. Bishop e8, b4, a6, a4, king g7, g5, h6, king f6. The king cannot come here because of the pawns and the bishop. So king f6, king g3, king g7, king f2, king f6. He's just doing nothing. He can't proceed. King e1, king e7, king d2, king d8, king c3, king c7, bishop d1. And then king d8. Black can do nothing but wait, but there's no danger of zugzwang. And when you take a closer look, you find that there isn't much white can do either. So theoretically, white may be better, but what can he actually do? Okay, and that seems fair enough. Fair enough. What can a white actually do here? And it's actually drawn from here. Did I see the resub? I did not see it. Maybe I can see it in my... Just give me 1 second, I'll check. So it's a draw. Yeah, this is a draw. After maybe like another 15 more moves, you always want to keep pressing. Even if you know it's a draw, keep pressing. They might make a mistake. Okay, guys? So we'll end it right there. And we'll be on game 27 next time. Thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you for taking these 2 games or watching these 2 games with me. I really appreciate it. Honestly, you guys are amazing. I don't even have to tell you, but I'm gonna tell you anyways. If you like this video, consider liking it. If you liked what you saw here and learned something, consider subscribing. It really, really motivates me and says, hey, I got like 10 new subscribers. I got to make another video. I got like 1 new subscriber. I got to make a video. So thank you guys so much for subscribing on YouTube. You guys have been amazing. Hearts out to you guys. Thank you. This is Japanese Tutor out.